Regional telly here in the south. When I was going to tell you pronouns, because some of us are doing that now, pronouns. Bloody obvious from my pay packet and lack of career progression. And age. Okay, so my age. Somebody recently described me as middle-aged. Well, no, my love, no. We don't say these words out loud. So, because in my experience, middle age simply pertains to the nuns who taught me when I was at school. I was at a convent boarding school, can you believe it? Or my piano teacher. And since I am neither a nun, you better believe it, or a piano teacher, I can't possibly be middle-aged. So what I've done is I've come up with a phrase to describe this part of my life. I've come up with the phrase, it's executive youth. Okay, executive youth. And it's basically for anybody between, say, 40 and dead. So, give us a whoop if you're here. Yeah. It's always very reassuring when there are some executive youths in the audience, because then when I dive into my deviant fantasies involving Simon Le Bon, Duran Duran, and Hugh Edwards, at least people know who I'm talking about. And it's a curious threesome, but I think it could be fun. So you'll know if you're in executive youth or approaching it if, for example, a teenager in your life has told you to stay the fuck away from TikTok, or you've ever considered taking out membership of the National Trust. Because actually it's really useful for the parking. It's great for the parking. Down in Scotland, you'll never regret it. I knew that I was in executive youth when I developed a bit of a problem with my big toe joint. Okay, so my toe, it's seized up, absolutely rigid, really painful. Turned out to be some arthritis, of course, glamour. But it meant that it was really painful to get my foot in my high heels and things. So I popped along to the doctor. I say popped along to the doctor. I waited 4.5 weeks for an appointment at the doctor, and when I finally got there, he was really quite unsympathetic. What you've got, he said, is a permanent stiffy. So be careful what you wish for, people, because dreams really can come true. But in spite of the pain, I crammed my feet into those high heels because they're really important for my job. They help me to be at the right height for the weather map. Okay, so here in central Southern, I am aiming to have my tits pointing at Petersfield and my arse in the general direction of Weymouth. Yes. I know, you all thought that the weather was about cold fronts and isobars. Oh, my loves, it's about tits and arse. And I didn't know this. When I took the job, nobody told me that within a fortnight of appearing on screen, my arse would have its own online fan club. Celebrity tush! Or that I would find myself on a YouTube channel called Babes of Britain. Nobody tell my dad. And as a progressive feminist, I know that I should be appalled by that. But in truth, I was really quite flattered. Because as I have confessed, I am in executive youth. I thought my babe days were well and truly behind me. Turns out they're not. Turns out there's a whole audience of men out there watching me do the weather with a remote control in one hand and a rolled up sock in the other. Not quite so fashionable now, right? And the truth is, I have no idea how I ended up as a weather girl, because it wasn't anything that I thought I would be doing when I was at school. When I was at school, there were two things I wanted to be. First, young people, you probably won't recognise this. I wanted to be Felicity Kendall. UK heroine of the sitcom The Good Life. And second, I wanted to be Debbie Harry, sexy lead singer of soft punk band Blondie. Trouble was, when I put on the dungarees like cutesy Felicity, I just looked like a quick fit mechanic. And when I put on the black leather skirt in homage to Debbie, I look like I should be on special offer at DFS. Wipe clean though, wipe clean. And when I think about when I went to the careers office, you remember the careers officer trying to help you out with your future? So I had a little chat with the careers officer, filled out a little test, and at the end of it, he suggested that I could be good at carpet fitting. He'd heard I was good on my knees, people. But the truth is that when I left university, because by some miracle I got there, I didn't pursue a career as a carpet fitter. What I did is I went into teaching. I became an English teacher. Any teachers in tonight? You're a teacher, what do you teach? Oh, say not so, but why are you out on a school night? It's Wednesday, isn't it?
I got fired.
Oh!
For drinking.
That means you can go drinking and doing comedy on a Wednesday night when all of the other teachers in the world are marking. Because basically that's all you do as a teacher. You set work, you mark work, return work, repeat. Set work, mark work, return work, repeat. It's a hideous hamster wheel of horror. And I spent most of my time trying to work out ways to lighten my workload. And I came up, you'll like this, I came up with a brilliant wheeze. I offered to teach all of the bottom sets. You know, all of the really thick kids. Basically, I'd learned that if you set them a timed essay in class, they'll just draw their trainers. And you can mark a whole set of those without taking your eyes off the telly. Winning! What you didn't want was one of those people-pleasing, earnest, dyslexic types. No, because their essays take fucking forever to mark. So, I don't know. I remember this one kid. He was writing on the novel of Mice and Men. Don't know if any of you have read that or remember it. But yes, of Mice and Men. A lovely story of friendship, George and Lenny. And what this kid wrote was, Lenny used to lick rabbis. So I was looking at it, puzzled over that long and hard. Lenny used to lick rabbis. What the fuck was that all about? Had he, I wondered, stumbled across some Judeo-erotic theme in the novel that I'd overlooked? Of course he hadn't. What he wanted to say was, Lenny used to like rabbits. But I gave him a gold star anyway, because I spent a very pleasurable afternoon wondering if I too might like to lick rabbis. And whether those rabbis might like to lick me right back. I already knew I liked rabbits. The other thing I couldn't stand about being a teacher was the lack of anonymity. Because when you're a teacher, you come into contact with hundreds of children and their families. You can never get away from them. So you'll be doing your shopping in Asda, and some bloke will leap out from the frozen aisle waving his cheap sausage at you. Really sorry to look at you when I said cheap sausage. I'm sure there's nothing cheap about your sausage. Hey! Although, actually, on second thought. And they want to engage you in conversation about their children. And it gets incredibly tiresome. And I spent a lot of time trying to plan things so it wouldn't happen to me. And what I started doing was I started to do my shopping in towns as far away from the school as I could get. So I was doing my shopping one time in a town about 20 miles away. I thought, perfectly safe. And I was shopping for my friend Ed's birthday. Now, Ed had recently told me at this point that he had never used... I give away people's secrets. Don't be my friend. Never be my friend. He told me that he'd never used a cock ring. And you can get them now in Boots, dead cheap. I've got great novelty presents for those difficult to buy for people. That can be your takeaway for tonight. I thought I'll get Ed a cock ring. So I popped into Boots. I picked up a cock ring for Ed. And because it was my husband's birthday later in that same week, I picked up one for him too. I started to make my way to the counter. Now at this point, I need to explain that I was brought up a Catholic. Any Catholics in? Yay! Oh my God, parallel lives. It's all about the shame in Catholicism. Shame, 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 shame. And So as I'm striding towards the counter, I'm saying to myself, Sam, you're a sexually autonomous, independent, 21st century woman, and you can do this with, thank God, although the beard is coming nicely, you can do this without embarrassment, which was not the message I was getting from my cleavage, which had broken out in heavy perspiration. Now, I don't know if this happens to any of the other women in the audience, where when you're a bit nervous, you get a sweaty cleavage. Yeah? It happens to me when generally I'm like doing reverse parking and people are looking at me. Yeah. So, I'm glad it's not just me, sister. Me and my sweaty cleavage, we make our way to the front of the queue. I put those 2 cock rings down on the counter, and I look at the woman behind the till, and I smile at her, and she smiles right back. I'm thinking, this is going really well. Feeling very brave. And then, in an absolutely fucking massive voice, so that the whole of the rest of the store can hear, she goes, "Oh my God, it's Sam Fraser, isn't it?" I'm mortified. 20 miles away. And I say, sorry, I don't recognise you. How do we know one another? And she says, oh, I'm Evie's grandmother. She was Mary in your alternative nativity one year. Remember? Well, you could poach a fucking egg between my tits at this point. There was so much hot sweat going on. But I'll give that woman her due. She looked at me, she said, Sam, these are on special offer, 3 for 2. Get yourself another one. So my husband had a doubly happy birthday. And I had to leave teaching for good. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been lovely. I've been Sam Fraser.